This session is titled Make Your Vision Possible. It is about weaving together the different speakers from this summit. If you have been watching up until now, you'll notice that there has been some unplanned but really lovely correspondence and connections between the different talks. Sometimes it's one after another, and sometimes it's referring back to yesterday or the day before. But it's just a really nice set of connections. Um, and in case you haven't seen somewhere where I mentioned it before, I wanted to introduce why I'm doing this. In 2016, I got a cancer diagnosis, and it was a pretty tough haul. About 10 months of treatment, all the things that you hear about, the doctors kind of threw their metaphorical book at me, and it did cure me. Now that it's been more than 5 years, I can actually say that I am cured, but it's always still something that happened to me. And I look back to that moment um, where, after the diagnosis, after digging around, asking this person and that person for, you know, just ideas and help, and being overwhelmed with all the little things that I could do, but I wasn't sure was right for me, and I had no idea where to start. And how could I actually get all that done in a day? And it was just a very lonely place. Um, and I also, well, of course, I had fear of what would my treatment outcome be. Would I actually even just live? And would I be able to come out of it strong enough to live well? Um, and then, meanwhile, would I be able to take enough care of the rest of my life in order to have something that I was pleased to come back to once I was able to be in that really live state again? Um, and it just was hard to find help or advice or anything. But I thought, okay, well, let me find, what do I know? What can I start to give myself just some big picture? What will this be like? And so I had a ton of questions written down on a notebook, waiting for my oncologist to call. And when he finally did call, I had my pen, I had my paper, but there really wasn't much he could tell me. And I found out later, and can help now walk through it with other people. Why is that? And what do you do now when you're not getting the kind of guidance and advice that you want? And yeah, so I just remember that moment, and how lonely it felt, even though I had people around. How I thought nobody understood, and I just didn't want anybody else to have to be in that situation again. It took a little while to recover, to get to a point where um, I could start this business, and then get the business to a point where I could provide more of the different kinds of help that I wanted to. Um, but that's part of what this summit is for, and past summits have been, and other things that I've done, and the things that I will continue to do, is so that there is proof, to refer back to some of the earlier talks again, um, so that anyone who needs it can have a vision of, yes, it's possible. It is possible to go through this nasty experience that takes rather a long time, and come out of it, um, with health and a life that you're really pleased to have the opportunity to keep enjoying. So, so that's why I'm here and how it all got started, and a little bit about where we are now. Um, my soapbox is that work needs to be healthy because we need to work, and if we're not being healthy, then the work suffers and everything else in our life suffers. And it's just time for a change. And my corner of the world to start making that change in is with business owners who are dealing with cancer, treatment recovery. How do you do this without giving up on everything else? That's my mission in life. So, coming back to this particular summit, um, and wrapping up what we've done. What I wanted to do with this session is really kind of two things. One is talking a little bit more about what else you may need to know besides what the common advice that we get in order to actually make this path forward really something that, if not completely smooth, at least that there is a path, and that you can move successfully towards the things that the purpose that you want, and what you want that future to look like. And then to see what I can do to knit together some of the insights from our speakers, because um, not only is it a chance to go back over it and see how to take an insight and go towards action with it, but better still, um, it's by putting them together, taking this idea and that idea and fitting them in a way that both of them can happen more or less at the same time, or at least with the same effort. Um, and if you choose them well, not only does that save you some time and effort, but you can put together things that actively make each other better. And so that just means more benefit. It's more beneficial. It takes less effort. It kind of makes it fun because um, it's a little bit fresh and new for our minds. And it's a time when we can honestly kind of pat ourselves in the back and say, hey, you know what? I'm being clever here. So please do feel free to use any examples that I share the way they are, but tweak them to fit you, or just use them as a springboard to go on to something that's even better fitted to you. So that is the purpose of the session. And now the kind of breaking that down a little bit. Um, so to take these insights and make them practically useful, there are a few common sense things that you may have heard. It might take a little work to actually do, but change gradually. That's something that actually has been said several times by different speakers during this summit. Take even, was it Kelly this morning said, the smallest possible change, uh, and experiment with it and see how it helps you. And another speaker earlier on an earlier day said something about how those little changes are the ones that last. And that's, of course, what we want, because having those habits and routines um, is and makes it sustainable, makes it keep happening, reinforces it, helps our body and our brain to build the muscles, whether metaphorically or otherwise, to just adjust and get into the patterns that make it smooth and comfortable. And then consistent progress. You might start with taking one small step. In fact, a lot of folks from the summit have recommended that you do start with one small step. And then before very long, that will free up enough energy, enough time, enough other things that you then have um, room to add something else. And if you keep making consistent progress, add a new thing, tweak something, adjust, maybe something that you've been doing first thing is better off as part of your lunch break, just for the freshness of it, or because you're learning as you go, or because life changes as we go. So there might be a change of circumstances that makes us feel like, it was fun before to do it that way, but now I've gotten tired of it, or now it's awkward. Now, I need to move faster through my mornings, or I need to move faster through my lunches, or whatever it might be. Um, that also counts as consistent progress. And then crafting daily rituals, daily opportunities to maybe take even just 3 or 4 deep breaths and feel that moment of pause, that moment of trusting that it's going to be okay to pause that long. Um, Enjoying that little bit, even if we don't necessarily feel it or can't measure it exactly. Um, it, One of the speakers was talking about how if you take a really deep breath, that actually gives you a little bit of a belly massage. And then when you let it out all the way, that actually gives you a little bit of a heart massage. And it can really help your body to just be more comfortable and happier. And whether or not you measure it, if you are consistently doing even little things like this that that grow your daily rituals and that put that moment of deep breathing just when it's going to mean the most. Maybe it's the last block of your drive home before you go in to see the loved ones who you're going to see. And it can be that last little bit of mm, making your body comfortable and happy and looking forward to it, even if you've had a tough day, even if it was a long drive, or any of the other things that can kind of um, kind of push us off of being our best. That's even little things like that make a real difference, and then they spill over into the next thing. We feel better, and we are our better self for whatever it is that we're bringing ourselves to next. So then we're going to move to some what I'm calling enhanced strategies. You may have heard of habit stacks. That's a process of putting putting things together, habits together in ways that they will uh, remind you and reward you. And new habits are a lot easier to gain that way. Um, and I absolutely think habit stacks are a wonderful idea. And I also want to mention this concept that I like to talk about called strategic habit stacks. And that means that it's even more than just putting together things that will um, help with the habit formation, but also those things that I was talking about earlier that are uh, beneficial to one another. So, one example, one of our speakers mentioned the benefit of having breakfast before coffee, because that changes how your blood sugar levels behave through the day and keeps your overall hormonal system running more smoothly. Well, we talked then, and I'm going to expand on it a little bit here. It's really helpful to start your day with water because there are so many systems that need it. And so if you drink some water, that helps wake up your mind, your body, your all sorts of other processes. And if you put that water next to the coffee maker or tea, if you're like me, then it's going to remind you and you'll have that water first. And that helps you digest. So that breakfast that you need to have next, you're going to get more nutrition out of it. And then once you've had breakfast and move to coffee, then the coffee is going to do a better job of what you want from it than it would have an hour earlier. So that's a very simple version of a strategic habit stack, is putting things together in a way that they benefit one another so that as a group, they benefit you even more. So then what is this both and thinking? That's another of my favorite phrases and things I bring up a lot. It's sort of the alternative to either or. And it's not that either or is wrong. There are definitely times when it is a decision either or. Am I going to take this job or that one? Or am I going to keep this job or find something else that I'd rather do? Um, Either or decisions have their place, but because they're so common, we tend to get stuck and not think, oh, what if it could be both and? And one of my favorite ways to illustrate this is with sports because it's just so visible and obvious. So, for example, in soccer, you absolutely have to have a goalie, right? Because somebody's got to stop as many balls as possible from coming in. Um, but if your entire team is made up of only goalies, then how are you going to get any points on the other end of the field? So you need strikers. And besides that, you want midfield people so we can get the ball moving back and forth between as well. That is, in a way, both and thinking. It's not the only right thing is to be a goalie or the only right thing is to be a striker. It's how can we bring these things together and make a group that is effective. Another story that I've been just dying to tell is around growth mindset. You may have heard of it. It's the difference between thinking that you're stuck with who you are and how you are now. Um, it was originally discovered with intelligence, but it actually applies to a lot of things. And today I'd like to apply it to learning a new habit. So I have a swing, a porch swing that I really enjoy sitting in. And I was so thrilled when we found a porch swing and got it set up. And then after the first couple of days, I realized I wasn't really sitting in my porch swing very often at all. And after some thought, the reason was that I didn't have a habit of when do I go sit in my porch swing. So I did all the habit forming things you're supposed to do. I decided when would I do it and what would I do while I was there so I would be sure I would enjoy it. And um, those kinds of things. What would be the prompt that would remind me? And so I came up with what felt like a pretty good plan and did it the next day and then promptly didn't do it again for a week. And I was so annoyed with myself. How can I not be sitting in my porch swing? I'm really looking forward to it. I've got a good plan. I'm really going to enjoy it. It's going to make me so happy when I finally do it. What is wrong with me? Oh, that kind of negative voice doesn't do a lot to get us very far. So when I had that thought and it was bedtime, I decided, okay, I'm not going to go sit in the porch swing right now because I'm in my pajamas and it just doesn't feel like what I want to do now. What I really want to do is go to sleep. But I'm going to decide that the fact that I noticed it is good. And it's step one on this path of forming a habit. And so, what I'm hoping to do tomorrow is to think of it maybe a little bit earlier. And sure enough, I thought of it a little bit earlier. and, and, I'm still not thinking of it every single day, but some days I'm even thinking of it before lunchtime. And I got to tell you, the days I do just go out there with my morning coffee and sit on that porch swing for even 2 or 3 minutes, it's it really does have the benefits that I imagined. And instead of being hard on myself for not always doing it at the same time or whatever other rule I might make up, as if the porch swing was going to like only appear at its appointed scheduled time, what I'm doing is encouraging myself. And that is a growth mindset around my habit forming. And so that's my story about growth mindset. You can encourage yourself into it, and you can use that to help things happen that aren't instant. And I guess if you think about it in life, there are a lot of things that don't really happen instantly, right? So, two other thoughts that I just wanted to share on this enhanced strategies. They've been mentioned by other speakers. Lifelong learning. Um, it's a joy that we get to do the new thing that we have just discovered, and the fact that we didn't discover it, last year or 10 years ago, that's okay. And it's just sometimes kind of nice, like earlier when we were doing movement sessions, and your body enjoys that moment of being able to move around in a way that it uh, hadn't for a bit. Well, your mind does too. And if you pick something that seems interesting and you just take a little step and experiment with it and see where it goes. And you might enjoy it. And don't expect yourself to be able to play a symphony the day you first pick up the instrument or even the year. But enjoy that. Okay, I've gone from playing one note to playing three. And then maybe a little later on, you're able to play them a little bit well, and where they kind of sound pretty nice. So progress over perfection. Um, I think it's probably been said 100 times at least, but there isn't really any such thing as perfection. I think what it really is just us wanting always more and always better. And that can be fantastic. But that is a process, and it's not a where you want to be. Well, we might want to be there right now. I mean, to be honest, I want to be there right now, but it sure helps to remind myself that me from a year ago could look at me now and say, "Oh, wow, that's pretty cool," and plan to have it be that me 2024 is somebody who I'm pleased to become. Please make progress over perfection. Okay, and now We want to apply the summit's knowledge to our lives and set achievable goals inspired by what we've learned. And then from that, although mostly not in this few moments I have to talk today, I want to encourage you to create a roadmap for your future personal professional growth and just plans and fun. Um, so let's launch in. Okay. So, just a quick reminder and thank you to all of our speakers. It's been so cool. And I have to say, I'm really, really grateful. Um, Someone was saying earlier that it can be hard. That I think that was Kelly. Sometimes hard things happen to us. Um, and when you're in the middle of it, you don't really see the upside of it. But now that I'm out of uh, the period when in my life when cancer made a lot of things really hard, um, and I've moved forward. One of the blessings that has come from it is that it's a motivation and a mission that other people want to get on board with. I'm really grateful for that. I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for the audience being here. And I'm grateful for the other speakers because you're all amazing, fantastic people. And it really touches my heart that you would come to a summit that I put together uh, because you can also see that it's important that we should all have hope. Okay. That's another of the reasons it took me a little while to figure out how to make a business of this is because I had to get far enough that the tears wouldn't just overwhelm everything else that I was trying to do. Thank you so much, speakers, for being here and for everything that you've done for our folks. So, over the last 3 days, we have talked about a lot of things that connected in so many ways, but I tried to pull themes um, and talk about things that go together. So, we started off with leadership. And one of the important things about good leadership is strong communication. And then so many more speakers talked about different aspects of strong communication, being able to have conversations that inspire teams, inspire community. And actually, Carrie Lynn, just before me, came in with another aspect of this. The things that we've learned about strong communication in coming from different angles seem to all apply to the other angles. So if you pick up a skill, if you learn a practice, if you get comfortable having a method that works for you, just because you discover it at work or you discover it in a community setting or whatever it might be, feel free. In fact, I encourage you to use that in your other settings and to feel good about the fact that you're making progress, being and becoming the person who can use those skills in all those different settings to raise the tide, to float higher the boats in all those different settings. So, communication, it's important to leadership, it's important to team dynamics. We've had some techniques for constructive dialogues and for effectively sharing your needs. And this is where I go back to um, the VIP offering and the ability to review these things and think again a little more deeply about the connections. Um, I am honored to offer that, and I am honored to give a big portion of that money to the cancer support community, which helps with all sorts of different needs in more than 100 different communities that help people with cancer navigate and get through a difficult time. Okay, so in addition to the communication theme, we've talked about wellness tools for our body and also a little bit about how keeping our body well is super helpful and super beneficial for our minds, our mental health, our ability to show up in our relationships and communicate well, to go to the previous slide. All of the things that help us be our strongest and best self also help us do um, more than we could if we were completely depleted. Take care of movement and nutrition, and these things spill over into your mental health, your physical health, your ability to reach for that future that you want. Um, Super helpful to reducing side effects of any treatment you might be in. So many things. Realize that if you're in a health situation, um, good nutrition will help you. And the definition of good nutrition may shift some. One of the examples was how a person in cancer treatment, check with your own doctor, of course, about your specifics, but as a generalization, often it's helpful to have more protein and more of the right kinds of fats because of what they'll do for your body to help manage the side effects, to help manage the things that are happening in your body in that disease and treatment process, and help you to come out as you're in the stronger and better way that you're able to reach for. And then we also had a few different how-tos of beneficial targeted movement. It doesn't have to be breaking a hard sweat. That doesn't have to be doing things that are not appropriate for where your body is right now. Um, so even if you look back at this and sometime in the future when you are facing, or someone you love is facing, a new challenge, um, there, just know that there are beneficial targeted movements for so many situations. And it doesn't have to be hard. It can even be fun. And it's possible to find the how-to. Okay, so then our next theme that I grabbed from all of this was so fun how people just ended up. Um, I just picked things that I knew I would have needed, that I know my clients need. And actually, I kind of still need the reminder sometimes too. But the people who responded um, and made the time to be here happened to just reinforce one another so beautifully. So, mindful living and balance is an opportunity. And the more you practice it, and if you haven't been practicing it and you're just starting now, every little bit that you do helps you to manage change, helps you to manage your reactions to difficult circumstances, which certainly in life, ongoing, there's one difficult circumstance or another, but it it compounds and feels much heavier when it's a series of really hard circumstances that all kind of interlock with one another. As circumstances unfold, especially if you're in that place where things are hard, and you're going to be more vulnerable to feeling a little bit more knocked off your center, when some new circumstance unfolds, sometimes even when it's a good one. It's just the fact of the newness of it or the unexpectedness of it um, means that you need a little bit of time or a little bit of something else to be able to make that adjustment. So, stress relief techniques. I was talking earlier about tapping fingers to help find calm and how I built that up because, life is stressful and recovery from cancer is stressful. And I knew that I was getting tense at times. And when someone would show me something, if I liked it, I kept it. And then at the beginning of this year, I had a very hard and painful day that I somehow didn't know going in was going to be like that. And I found myself doing a little stress management right in the moment without even realizing it. And the fact that it was there in my habits already and just came to help me when I needed it without my having to think, oh, what should I do? Oh, how should I do that? Oh, is it going to be okay? Um, I really would like to encourage you to try some different stress relief techniques, find things that work for you, have more than one because different circumstances sometimes call for a different response, or make one thing easier than another, or even just you get bored and it's good and it's refreshing for our bodies and our brains to have that variety. Um, so then also we talked about strategies for effective change management. One of the themes from that talk that I found really important was to be able to be engaged and involved with the process. If you're the leader, it's super helpful to have your people engage with the process. Sometimes, most likely, a lot of the times, they're pretty smart about the thing that's going on, and they can help you um, notice details that you might not have noticed as just one person. And also, just the fact that they're given the opportunity to be connected, to be engaged in the process is so helpful for a work related change management. We think of that as a work related phrase, but it's really something that we do in any situation. It could be with our families, it could be with ourselves. And so, to whatever extent you can, when you're facing change, especially a change that you didn't choose, but also to some extent the ones that we do, um, give yourself a moment. Give, as William would have told us, ask your subconscious mind, okay, what else do I need to know about this? As an opportunity to just allow that process to unfold in a way that is going to be healthy, effective, and is not going to drain your resources the way change can if it's done in its most difficult way. And then also in this mindfulness balance theme, there were some different ways of looking at the notion of integrating ambition with self care. And actually, I think Kelly this morning, her way of talking about what do you do when you find yourself in that um, overwhelmed, stuck, stressed place, um, the getting your body involved. A lot of that we call self care, but it actually can be and is a lot of other things too. You know, you hear about some really famous folks who go for a walk when they're making a difficult business decision or having an important conversation. and they're actually walking in the middle of this other activity. And it's not just because it is different or whatever other thoughts we have. It's not just because it's good self-care to go for a walk and so they're saving time by doing the two together. It's actually one of those strategic combinations where because the people are in motion and having this sort of joint project, if you will, of even just going around the block, that they're going to be able to work together better on an intellectual level at the same time. So don't poo poo self care. It's not only important to your health, not only important to your mental wellness and to finding balance and to having mindfulness in life, it also can help bring out the best in you towards the things that you want to do. Okay, so then our next theme is about personal growth and effectiveness. So this kind of boiled down to having a focused approach to productivity and managing your fears. So some of the techniques that we had for staying focused were to really just have one main project at a time. Depending on a person's wiring, sometimes you want to have two sub-projects, but choose what your purpose is, what you want the theme of your year or your 2 or 3 years to be, and have an image of what that future looks like that you're trying to get to, so that when you're working away, you're working towards that one thing. Or if you're in a situation where you've done this over here too long, you need some variety. So you're going to do this over here for a while, that those two things are both designed with that end direction in mind. And that will help you stay focused and you'll be far more productive because it eliminates the I don't know what to do. I don't know what I want to do now, just the scattered all overness of it. Uh, and um, at the same time, we still need to prioritize our personal needs. We still need to eat and drink and sleep and get some movement and have some form of social life, whatever that is for us, have hobbies. It is refreshing and it is an opportunity to learn things that take you uh, that that add skill, that add confidence, that add a new twist to something that maybe has been going along in a way that's okay, but it just needed some kind of a twist to become really exciting. We even had a speaker give an example of dance lessons and how that particular hobby translated into other areas of life and made that better. So personal needs are an important part of the whole, and it's so helpful to be whole in order to be able to have what it takes to head in whatever direction you've decided you want to. So all of these things help with overcoming fears, managing our emotions, navigating challenges. One of the ones that I want to bring back is I mentioned it a moment ago, that technique of asking yourself conscious, your subconscious, not your self-conscious. Maybe I'm feeling a bit self-conscious at the moment, though. Could that be? So ask the part of yourself that doesn't normally talk in words. Okay, well, what else? What else is this about? What else do I need to know? Where is this fear coming from? It's okay to have that voice. In fact, it's often important to have that voice. You want to not, you want to be sure that you run away when there's a lion. And then at the same time, you want to be sure that there's something uh, in your day and that gives you an opportunity to say, oh, okay, that threat isn't actually a threat right now. This is when I have my practice of taking a few deep breaths and being ready to let go of something that may have been the case earlier, but right now it isn't serving me. And what I actually need to do is, okay, so maybe it's go digest my dinner, right? Eat and digest my dinner, which is hard to do when your body is in readiness to run away from a perceived threat. So I think that maybe doesn't exactly fit with the words that are on this slide, but I hope that you understand that these things fit together and help us with all the other areas. And that if we make a point of bringing them into our lives and growing and facing our fears in a healthy way, not just a pretending you don't have a fear kind of way, that that actually helps bring out your best, helps navigate challenges. And that's what we're here to do. And then I think we have one more, working with your wiring. So knowing your own type, your own mind, and what your goals really are, and your best ways of reaching for your goals. Some of the pieces that make that happen also can help you regulate your nervous system, or in other words, not get into a situation where your body and your mind and your emotions are going into overdrive. If something is a problem, it needs to be dealt with, but staying freaked out all day long isn't helpful. So that's the non textbook way of explaining what it means to regulate your nervous system. And then um, finding just awareness helps, and then working on overcoming blocks, thought patterns. Sometimes they're outdated, sometimes they're completely accidental, sometimes it's something that works in one setting, and it's been transported into a different part of your life. And so all you really need to do is notice, oh, well, when I'm, you know, I don't know. I don't have a good example right now. Sorry about that. Um, but uh, just knowing that if something comes along that you notice isn't serving you, it's okay. And it doesn't mean that you're wrong or that even that thing is awful. Maybe it's just not fitting at the moment. So when it's not helping you, don't use it and choose something else. And all of those are ways of shifting from survival mode to thriving, getting out of that, variation on, um, I have to find um, dinner and bring it home and barbecue it and, then store all the extra for the next 3 months, or else I won't eat. That is survival mode thinking. And thriving, especially in the world we have today, where a lot of things are um, easier than they were thousands of years ago. Um, And then we also have some new complications. We need to have a moment to notice that our body has jumped back into survival mode and then remind it, well, hang on, I have tools for that. I have a grocery store. Here in California, where we get earthquakes at times, I have some canned food and some water in the pantry. It's going to be okay. And, things might not turn out exactly as I imagine, but it's still going to be okay. I'll be able to adjust. I have the skills, I have the resources, I have all these things. Um, what we have available to us now is so much and so helpful if we'll allow ourselves to use it, if we'll pause and take that deep breath and notice that this is a moment for using it. And then just before I started talking to you about this, I was demonstrating some what I hope was truly refreshing rest. And what that is switching up um, for our bodies in that particular case, but it also is something you can use anywhere else. And do sometimes we need to just stop, like when we sleep. It's hard to sleep and walk around at the same time. But a lot of times during the day, when we think, okay, I'm supposed to be getting rid of all of my stress and da, 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 and we're stressing ourselves about whether we're doing it right or enough or whatever, um, actually, refreshing rest is pretty darn accessible by just doing something a little bit different from what you've been doing. If you've been leaning forward, try leaning back. If you've been doing a lot of word-oriented stuff, might be a good time to, I don't know, just count on your fingers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. I'm not sure if my singing was all that great, but a little bit of music too, right? Different parts of your brain. Um, and in addition to kind of laughing at myself now, I am that teeny bit more refreshed because I gave that talking part of my brain a minute off and let my musical part of my brain come out to play just a little. And so um, switching things up and giving yourself that moment of truly refreshing rest um, is just a very helpful way. And then do we have another slide after this? Ah. That's what got me started on the whole thing back when I first had my diagnosis. Okay, lots of good ideas here, but what the heck? That's a lot. How can it all be possible? To start with, take care of yourself. Enable yourself to rest. Adjust as you go. Allow yourself to restabilize. Shift from survival mode to allow yourself to thrive and get that refreshing rest. And in whatever way works for you, whether it's with me, whether if it's with someone who's an expert in some area that you realize is just what you want to spend your time and effort on right now, or whether it's just finding a rhythm of how to put your life together or your day or your morning routine together in a way that really supports you and really takes you in the direction you want to go. Um, that's that's what makes it possible, one tiny step at a time, with often some kind of encouragement and support and structure. And so I wanted to share that I do some coaching and I help with the kinds of things that I've been talking about. And since we've been talking about experiments, my experiment right now is to offer a fairly simple um, opportunity to work with me on a make it all possible plan for you that we sort out together so that it fits you and has some advice. And there is a link that's all about that. And I will also put it in email following up afterwards so that if that's you, where the idea of working with someone to just make it simple and smooth out the rough parts of how do you do all this. I would like to be able to do that with you. And I what this what this link will take you to is the opportunity to um, connect with me, to know a little bit more about what that looks like and how that could just find out if that's the best thing for you right now. And if instead you tell me, no, actually, I want um, something more, something that covers more of what I need, or no, actually, what I want is a different, smaller bite. I still would love to hear from you and look forward to whatever it is that we all go out and do next together. Thank you so much for being here. Um, so that's the end of my talk, but I still think want to remind you or want to thank you for being part of the summit journey. Encourage you to believe in yourself, believe in your future. Part of why I feel responsible to be here, like I think I said earlier, but I'll say it again. Sometimes seeing that it's possible helps you to believe that it's possible. So take what you've seen here and the good things that you see in other places to believe in yourself, believe in your future, know that it's possible, and know that there is support when you want it. And above all, just keep walking the path. Thank you so much. I think we might also have information about if somebody wants to join the VIP. Oh, yes, thank you so much. There's that workshop that I keep talking about, but I didn't remind you at the time when it was most necessary. On Monday, from 10:30 to noon, I will have this implementation workshop. And the idea of that session is for you to come with maybe 3 or 4 takeaways, or maybe 10. Um, but the things that really resonated for you that you want to work on. And if it's more than one, you might want to talk through which one to do first, or even if it is only one, there might be something that you're thinking, okay, yes, but I have a question. I'm not sure if I want to. I have whatever it is. That's what that implementation workshop is about, is helping remove whatever barriers you're noticing that might stop you from the continuing and from getting from here where you are, where you know what you are hoping for next, and being able to envision the possibility and actually move towards it. So I hope you'll come. And we'll just, whoever arrives first will have the first opportunity to bring up whatever it is that they want to bring up. And then we'll just continue and do as much as we can for the whole time. And the VIPs also have a personal one-on-one session with me, whether it's because you're shy or because 10:30 Pacific on Monday is not available on your calendar. I will do that one-on-one with you as well. So I want to just, yeah, encourage you, even though uh, the opportunity to ask speakers questions and some of the things like that are complete now. There still is the opportunity to have these recordings, to go back over and to remind yourself of what was that particular thing that really rang true for you. And then there's a whole set of special VIP gifts that you will have access to. And also, for those of you who might be thinking that you want to realign your tasks with your team, whether that's employees or people who work with you with other kinds of arrangements, um, I am working with a specialist and a friend who's in a very different kind of business. And all three of us are just really intrigued with artificial intelligence and all the fun new tools that are coming out. So we're just in the process of creating one that will help with realigning the roles and the tools. And actually, it could be used in your personal life as well if you happen to be interested in that. So that's something that, for my piece of making that tool come together and the expertise that I've brought into it, what I get to do is offer that to my VIPs. So there's another fun reason, and it would be wonderful if you would join us. And then aside from that, thank you so much for being part of our community and continue to give us feedback about what else you want and need. And again, it's an honor to be able to do this work. Thank you so much. Good night.